Welcome back, everybody. A winner of the National Book Award and one of the most heralded writers of today was on CBS this morning, where he opined that race had a big factor in President Trump's victory over Hillary Clinton because of President Obama. As much as I disagree, I'm more depressed because he's an extremely bright man, great writer. I couldn't disagree more. When President Bush took over for Bill Clinton, it was a guy known as values, Christian values, taking over for a guy that was running a frat house. Then in comes a cerebral President Obama to take over for somebody that they called a cowboy. And then in comes somebody who maybe was apologizing for America. Then you have an America First president. We seem to try to change the narrative, not the color of the leader's skin or the gender. Joining us now to discuss it is Matt Schlapp, chairman of the American Conservative Union, and Wendy Osefo, who teaches at Johns Hopkins University. Two great guests. Wendy, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but we have to put this narrative in context here. When we're looking at Donald Trump, we're looking at the same individual who championed the birtherism whole propaganda around President Obama. This is the same guy who asked for the death penalty with the Central Park Five. He used harsher language on NFL players than he did white supremacists in Charlottesville, and he has nefarious housing practices against black and brown people that resulted in a lawsuit. So his policies and his ideologies align to those individuals who want to separate our country based on race. And while we cannot sit here and say that, you know, everyone who votes for Donald Trump is a white supremacist, no, we cannot say that. But what we can say is that the white supremacists did vote for Donald Trump.
Wendy, but you have to say, too, a lot of times it's tough to win that third term. Bush 41 did it after Ronald Reagan, and it was tough to get the 8 years afterwards. That's what this is about, Matt. And Wendy has some examples if you're looking for that. For me, I look at the American leader and what they stand for, not the color of their skin.
Yeah, and we could walk through each of these charges, nefarious charges that always get brought up with Donald Trump, because they always want to make it, the left wants to make this about race, and they want to silence people like me who supported Donald Trump. And the overwhelming political factor in the most recent presidential campaign was really not about race as much as it was we took a very young, inexperienced person, put them in the White House, and they promised to govern in a third way. Barack Obama said that he would find a way to heal the nation after George W. Bush, and what he turned to was very radical policies on issue after issue after issue. So radical he couldn't really get any of them through Congress and had to put him in through executive order. What Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, three pretty old candidates, demonstrated is that the American people were scared to death by Barack Obama's inexperience and radicalism, and they wanted to try experience. Even if they were lefty, they wanted experience.
Wendy, I want you to weigh in here, because I think if there was some blowback against President Obama, we would have saw it at President Mitt Romney, don't you think?
Yes and no, but I just want to touch upon Matt's point. He talks about experience. Well, Donald Trump, out of all of the candidates, has the least amount of experience. So that's not really true. Actually, it is true. He's a reality star. It is true, Matt, and I don't think that that's arguable. That's not a left side and a right side.
He has 71 years of business experience, and is exactly what the voters wanted.
Is that what qualifies someone to be a president? Clearly, from his low approval rating, being that he has the lowest in modern day history, that shows that that's really not what's looking.
Did you ever meet the founders of our country when we didn't have a government? Private sector experience.
Matt, did you meet our founders? Because that would be very interesting if you did. Did you meet our founders?
Well,
okay,
I look study the founders.
But my point is this, which is, the dominant factor in politics was actually not race. It was this idea that the insiders had screwed it up so badly, and a young president had been so radical.
Come on,
they
Matt,
wanted
that's
to try
not fair.
something
I have
different.
one last question to Wendy. Wendy, if anybody else on that stage except President Trump had won, do you think that Mr. Coates or yourself would say that this is a reaction to a African-American president?
Absolutely. The truth of the matter is we cannot sit here and purport that we live in a utopian society. There are people who did not like Barack Obama because of the color of his skin. Not everyone, but there are people who did. So we cannot negate that, and we have to bring that into the conversation.
I would say this, regardless if you agree with any of President Obama's or all of his opinions, he's a charismatic guy who held himself with tremendous class, as a great family man, a wonderful husband. No one could argue that.
That's where we disagree.
He just wrecked the country, that's all.
Well,
but he is a good,
that's
he's a good
policy,
dad and a good husband.
not personal. That's policy, not
that's
personal.
Right.
Exactly.
I agree.
And not racial. I would hope we could agree on that.
All right, Brian.
I do agree.
Wendy and Matt, thank you. Up next,